OneX Developer Podcast.
Hello. Welcome back to the OneX Developer Podcast. It's me, Colin.
Me, Brendan.
And we have with us a special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself, Adam?
Yeah, hi, my name is Adam, and I'm a guest to talk a little bit about my latest book, IT Dictionary, which is satirical commentary on IT industry as a whole.
Satirical commentary on IT industry sounds familiar to us.
Yep.
Right? That's kind of what we do a little bit. Adam, where are you from, by the way?
Well, originally I'm from Poland, but I live in Germany, in Berlin.
Oh, okay. Sprechen Sie English?
It's surprisingly, it is actually standard language in Berlin, Germany, in IT world.
Okay.
So
I was in Switzerland, and that was like the one sentence I learned. And so that's German for "Do you speak English?" And people would say no, and then I would speak to them in English, and they would just speak perfect English back to me, pretty much. Like,
that's very common in Europe.
Yeah, it was really not hard for.
Maybe not everywhere in
English.
Europe, but in most countries, that's exactly my experience.
How'd you end up in Berlin?
Oh, I did travel quite a bit out of curiosity. It was kinda okay, let's find a new job, and then I was checking where it was located, and then I was moving to a new place. So as a result, I lived in a couple countries, in a couple cities, but Berlin kinda clicked at some point. So at some point I decided that it's enough of traveling and hopping between cities. I decided to move back to Berlin. And that was the first time when I decided to first pick the city, then job, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Which was actually also beneficial because Berlin is a kinda IT hub of Europe. The only bigger in Europe is London, so it's really easy to meet people, grow, change environments, companies. That's super nice. And the atmosphere of the city is really great. So.
Cool. I was going to ask, what are you doing? I mean, you're working in software, right, full time?
Yes. To be precise, I've been in years in cloud area. Right now, I am platform engineering manager. So, in a big corporation, German one, I won't tell you which one right now, but it is a big one with way more than 1 billion revenue a year. Still not that old, so it has kind of modern flair to it, but corporation with thousands of employees, where I'm one of the people responsible for for making sure that everything works properly in the cloud setup.
So you guys hiring?
I actually started as a backend developer almost 20 years ago. I started with PHP and then I migrated with various languages as a Scrum Master, team lead, architect, freelancer, software houses, enterprises, startups, pretty much everything around the world. So I hope it is visible also in my writing. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that that definitely comes through in the book, that you have it divided up into the sections, and some of them apply to startups and some to more corporate jobs. And I think it shows that had a lot of hats in the IT industry.
Yes.
Is it true that like the German workplace is very strict? I've heard that Germans really, you have to be on time, and they're very strict there. But it's weird because I feel like IT tends to be more relaxed. So I wonder.
Yeah. So let me teach German. One of my favorite German words, which is "jein," which is a mix between "ja" and "nein." So yes and no. Basically, generally there is this stereotype about Germany, but at the same time, Berlin is hardly something I would consider a German culture. So people here are way more relaxed, and also IT goes with a different set of rules. That's also what I mentioned, that company that I work for right now, and most companies I worked, are rather younger. They are not decades old, so they don't have this classical German culture with dress codes and stuff. So let's just say in my team we have a daily at 10:30, and some people in my team manage to be late on it. So
yeah, I think that's normal. And yeah, you do notice that with the younger companies, they tend to be more relaxed with that stuff.
Yeah, and also in Berlin IT scene, meeting German is not that obvious actually. If from my experience, if you have a team that has 10 to 15% Germans in IT, it's already high percentage. So.
Okay.
You were saying Berlin has a different culture than the rest of Germany. You feel like Berlin is just a very, does that apply to things outside IT also? It's just a very unique culture?
Yes, definitely. Well, from my experience, I'd say at least in Europe, pretty much everywhere, in most countries, capital is different than the rest of the country. I can definitely say that French would say that about Paris, British people will say that about London, Irish about Dublin, and so on. But Berlin is, even in this category, very specific. It's a big city, obviously, but you don't feel it. The live and let live culture is very strong here.
Nice.
Should we just become a travel podcast?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Love to make it over there someday.
Well, whenever you're around, drop me a ping. I will show you something.
For sure, yeah. So, do you want to talk about the IT dictionary and what you've been working on, and kind of give us the rundown?
Yeah, so maybe a background story, because that's always interesting. So actually the book started as a small joke for a girl I was dating. She was working in a legal department but had contacts with IT people, and I just wanted to give her a small guide when people either make fun of her or just pretend that they are actually working. So all those acronyms like layer 8, picnic, code 18 or 80 depending on the system, and so on. But then the relationship ended and I continued, and I was noting more and more, and over time I realized that there was a bigger, deeper message or structure behind all those jokes, especially when I started making, okay, let's put it straightforward, making fun of other areas, not necessarily purely core IT, which is visible in other parts. And well, before I knew, it was too long to just keep it in the drawer. So here we are.
Very nice. Yeah. Have you written before? Are you a writer in general?
Not really. I wrote a couple articles in the past, but just some medium articles, maybe some Quora answers, this kind of stuff. Not much. I never thought that I would have something to say until I actually started writing, and then it went. Like I mentioned before the podcast, before we started recording, I already have some next projects. They will be maybe slightly less satirical, but more education. Let's call it edutainment, where, well, I'm still want to keep the sarcastic, witty tone, but focus more on teaching something interesting, let's say. So while writing IT dictionary, I already started somewhere on the side making notes, And right now I have almost ready research for my second book, which would be, and that's something I never mentioned outside of here, out publicly, let's say, would be Fuck Up Almanac, which will be a almanac of various scale, usually big scale disasters, not necessarily IT. It would be, for instance, year 2K. Colin might not remember, Brendan probably does. With a follow-up, because there is an interesting story, because that bug actually did hit quite heavily, except it was in January 2000, it was January 2020. With some classics like Morris Worm and something like that, but also something outside IT into civil engineering, like Wobbly Bridge in London. Sorry, Millennial Bridge. Wobbly is a pseudonym. Like various cases like that, but not just, let's call it disaster porn, more about what happened, what was the phenomena or problem behind it, and what are the lessons. So as I state in the introduction, it's kinda one huge collection of postmortems.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it does.
And yeah, I like your approach too of keeping that kind of lighthearted tone. I feel like my favorite, not just tech books, but probably my favorite educational books are ones that can kind of do both. The ones that are really dry, I tend to have a hard time like focusing on.
Yeah, well, my kinda motto, maybe I won't quote it here because it's quite straightforward, but it is to translate complex stuff in easy way. So I'd like to make it accessible not only for people who have, I don't know, PhDs or decades of experience in the certain area to understand. It's, let's say, quite easy to explain, for instance, how, DNS to somebody who spent years in IT, but try explaining what DNS is to somebody who just uses computer and doesn't care what's going on. So I'd like to make it accessible, not to make people network engineers, software developers, or whatever, just give enough understanding so that next time they hit some news information, they would know what it is about. So simplify, but still be technically correct.
Right. Yeah. Simplify it as much as possible, but no further.
Something like that. But and maybe I will be patting my back now, but one of my talents is to find very weird analogies that help illustrate, like BGP as a postal service, or explaining entire Kubernetes architecture as an analogy to CIA network. It actually works.
Whoa, hang on. Okay, I'm actually interested in that. Kubernetes as a CIA network?
Yeah, actually, there are more analogies than I imagined when I started thinking about this. If you consider a CIA or spy agency headquarters as a control plane, then field offices as pods, then you have some departments as controllers, then you need to protect the communication, so basically you have encryption and yada yada yada. You even have aspects like pods do not decide what they do, they just realize orders from the control plane.
Right.
You can build quite nice analogy to somebody who's not technical to understand just based on Hollywood movies.
That's very good.
Yeah. It reminds me, I had this professor who was like notorious for coming up with analogies that were actually more complicated than the thing he was explaining originally. So he would be like explaining, some engineering thing, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's just like when you're building a house and you lay this in the foundation," and people would be in the class like, "Is that how people build houses? I don't know how to." That's, you want to relate it to things that I know, not because now I'm just more confused.
Well, that's actually also interesting. One of the way forward projects is something I call system thinking. There are books about this, but they are not that easy to digest, like you call, let's say, very serious, very dry, and not everybody would like. But you can train this skill of spotting those analogies. Then it's a separate topic if you select the proper analogy to make it easier to understand, or as you said, more confusing. So I hope I'll manage to keep it easier to understand, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a skill that you can isolate and you can practice on, like getting better at making good analogies.
Well, analogies is just finding patterns in the world around. So the same, very similar skill is when you're actually designing architecture of a system. It's still thinking in systems. It's just spotting that those systems already exist. Like in IT, you have, I don't know, it was very popular a couple years ago. Now it's faded into lost kind of against Gen AI, but there were some genetic algorithms, immunology algorithms, and so on. It's literally taking what is already exists in the nature and putting it into physical in the IT system. As a matter of fact, even neural networks in Gen AI is just moving one system from biology into reality, into cyber reality. Sorry.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's about spotting patterns, and for architecture, like we've done that before. We've used that same pattern before.
Yes, and once you start spotting those patterns, it's once you start, it's not that easy to stop. So, and even the core principles of good software design are visible in civil engineering if you start seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like in software development, you have a separate pattern, a separate stage of building the graph of objects, and separate is how this graph operates. You have the same in building, designing databases. You have the same in building the net cloud systems, but you have the same in the designing and operating road systems in the real world.
Yeah. I'd like to hear more. Sorry to shift gears a little bit. I'd like to hear more about the 2020 bug. You said Y2K did not hit in the year 2000. I was there. I remember all the anxiety and people were very worked up about it. And then it seemed like it was kind of a big bowl of nothing.
Yes, it was.
But then you said something happened in 2020.
Yes, so you know that temporarily is a synonym for forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true that there was a huge anxiety about 2000 because of what happens if 2 digits won't be enough. Mm-hmm. And entire 1999, most of 1998, a lot of companies were spending billions to prepare. And ultimately, most of them succeeded, so there were no major disasters when January 2000 started. But some companies made a quick temporary fix. Namely, and it's surprisingly commonly did similar fix, that if those 2 digits were smaller than 20, assume it is 21st century. And the thinking was, it's a quick fix, we will have 20 years to fix it.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, they forgot. And when 1st of January 2020, systems started crashing. And as a result, I don't know, ticket machines in Warsaw subway metro in Poland stopped working. Parking machines on Manhattan stopped working. ATMs in Tokyo stopped working, and a couple others. Those are just I remember right away.
Oh man, I didn't.
I wonder.
I did not know about that.
I wonder why you picked
can
20.
Google it. I don't know exactly why, but I can tell you it's quite common even in the, let's say, social insurance number. Let's call it social insurance number in Poland. The same trick is used. Actually, they use this trick a little bit further because the number does have a birth year. And well, it is used to, those numbers are used to also encode century. So theoretically, it's covered until 2400 or something like that. Never mind.
It's okay. We got 300 years to fix it.
Yeah. The problem was that with 2000, it was very flashy every year that changing the number, so everybody knew that something could go wrong. In 2020, it wasn't that media attention grabbing, let's say, and well,
Yeah.
it was a fun week for some people around the world.
Yeah.
Well, and I assume, I mean, they probably thought when they made that change, like, oh, in 2020, we won't be using this, we'll be on the moon. But who knows? Maybe in 2400, we'll still be using these things.
Yeah.
And no one will even remember how they work, so no one can fix it.
Well, next time we'll have a problem with Unix timestamp. And
yeah.
Oh.
As far as I'm certain that most people are convinced that, hey, we are already on 64-bit system, so it won't be a problem. There will be something still compiled in the old system that will hit heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. Some server locked away in a closet somewhere that's running the whole internet.
Yeah, well, there are these kind of examples already. I will use some information from Fuck-Up Almanac again, from research for Fuck-Up Almanac. There was, I think it was Ariane 5, which was a space mission by European Space Agency, that they launched a rocket that exploded, I think, 27 seconds after launch. It was self-destruct order. And the interesting part was the reason. They basically picked a module that was responsible for controlling monitoring the vertical speed from previous mission, Ariane 4. And well, it worked flawless in Ariane 4, so why bother? Except Ariane 5 was in 64 bits and Ariane 4 was compiled in 16 bits. And they had an integer that, surprise, surprise, in 64 bits got overflow. So the computer got suddenly huge negative speed. So the computer concluded that the rocket is falling, so triggered self-destruct. The fun part was that they had a redundant system. They had second system monitoring the speed, but using exactly the same code.
Jeez. The backup system has the exact same problem. Yeah.
But this is about the next idea. IT Dictionary has some hints of hidden lessons or conclusions, but it's purely satire, just commenting what we all know and suffer from. If you've read some excerpts, you probably already saw that. I just hope you recognized some of the translations from your day-to-day experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think about how to say this because I've worked at the same company for about 12 years. Colin and I used to work together, and I'm trying really hard not to like say anything about the company since I'm still there. But I'll just say that I recognized a lot. A lot of it sounded familiar.
Well, like I stated, I think even in the very beginning, in the disclaimer, any resemblance is purely confidential unless you feel personally attacked. Then it is about you. I'm not certain that everybody. From my so far from my conversations, everybody who even briefly worked in IT or close to IT recognizes those patterns. So it's not about your company; it's just about the industry itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, all the companies I've worked at have had a lot of the same problems, really. Like, I don't think it's damning to any one company if you recognize some of these things. Like, they seem to be industry wide.
Yeah, and maybe a word about the structure for the viewers or listeners. So the book is divided into 5 core parts, where first is core IT, which is just a day-to-day survival manual from developer's perspective. Problems like, I don't know, flaky tests, debugging jargon, code commits, messages, this kind of stuff. Then second is agile cargo cults. Sorry, agile rituals and cargo cults, which is poking fun at agile as as the title suggests, cargo cult. So where you keep repeating certain rituals without understanding the meaning behind this, so they are just empty rituals. So this is satirizing religious aspect and commenting from every role, like developer, tooling overload, with my favorite Slack as distraction as a service, product owners, stakeholders, to various other aspects like Kanban, extreme programming, or even Scrumban. Then I'm going into commenting two extremes in IT world. First is corporation, corpoland, so where idea goes to go to get aligned. And this is an extreme when everything needs to go through bureaucratic process and sucks souls from pretty much everybody. And on the other side of the spectrum, the corpolant is stylized as a bureaucratic, constitutional, legalist jargon and stuff. And then startup called Startupistan, when we go totally opposite, where everything is, let's say, intuition driven, hope driven, and lots of caffeine. And since corporation was a legal, constitutional, managed democracy, let's call it, then startup is kind of revolutionary failed state, or with a touch of even Soviet propaganda. And fifth part is the most up to date, let's say, which is commenting blind faith in AI. So it's impersonating AI as a transfer student that is very charismatic. Everybody wants to befriend him, despite the fact that most of the people don't understand him. And that's kind of what's going on in the industry. I don't criticize the AI as itself, because it is a great technology that can be very useful. It's more about sticking AI onto everything that's possible and half of the things that's not possible.
Yeah,
That
that's very
sounds great.
good. I wanted to ask you about that. I love that analogy. Everyone wants to talk to him, but no one quite understands. Yeah, do you feel like, talk about AI for a sec. Do you think, in your experience, having worked in various jobs in IT, what do you think AI has done to some of these problems? They obviously existed before AI, but do you feel like AI has helped with any of them? Has made them worse?
Well, I think that okay, now I will be very serious, but I think that we are on the edge of bubble that is going to burst. It is going to explode because the Gen AI went trendy, and everybody started using it. As I even have a comic in the book where what do we want AI? Where do we want it? Everywhere. What should it do? We don't know. And when do we want it? Yesterday. So that's pretty much what's happening. So suddenly, from a problem that could be solved, that was solved by a single select box, now you need to have a recommendation engine, and instead of the simple scheduling mechanism, you have an agent that will do it for you. So those are areas that make it worse. But certain, like with every other hype wave in the past, some companies will grow on it, and
industry or the landscape will never be the same. Like we had a dot-com bubble, it's very similar, except now it's bigger, I think. Again, in 1990s there was, and beginning of 2000s, there was this dot-com bubble. Suddenly, everything that had dot-com ending was getting money like there's no tomorrow. And let's just say not every idea was a good one. The most classic one was pets.com that got, I don't remember, tens of millions and had absolutely no business plan. But at the same time, at this time, companies like Amazon or Google started. So something like that will happen here. So I think recently there was even this MIT study that stated that 95% of companies of AI-driven startups are failures, which is much higher percentage than regular startups in a couple years before, even though I think it was more about 80% startups, but now it's 95. So it is a big increase. But among those 5%, there will be success stories.
That's funny. Colin and I were just talking about this last night. We were just having a conversation about, like what happens when this AI bubble bursts and like what kind of springs from the ashes of that. What do you think? What kind of companies will come out of that? What kind of companies do you think will survive the bubble and actually have turned into actually have made something decent?
Yeah, that's a difficult question because, well, I didn't think in that much details about this recently, but I'd say for sure companies that try to solve specific problem, that see that what AI is capable of and solve the problem, rather than thinking how to stick the trendy technology on top of already existing solutions.
Yeah.
Just like it was with NFTs. Okay, NFTs is not that good example because I don't know any success story with NFT.
Yeah.
But let's go into blockchain.
I know one guy.
One guy. Yeah. Okay. But if you try to solve a unique problem that was difficult in the past with AI, that might be something. But if you want to, if you have companies that just stick AI sticker to everything they already have just because, or they have a successful product that's solving specific problems, brings value to customers and stuff, and now AI is required, so let's think how we can squeeze AI into it. It's just increasing the costs because energy costs, compute costs, and so on, but does not bring new value, and that's the problem. But but at the same time, there will be companies that are building the core solutions, like, I don't know, Anthropic maybe, I'm not sure about it, or DeepSeek, where I also see some problems, but those are companies that didn't exist 5 years ago and now are quickly becoming new candidates for the next big tech click. So something like that will happen. Like Google in .com, Google and Amazon didn't exist just because they thought what problem could be solved and they had realistic business plan. They almost overnight got into the biggest players in the market, wiping out previous big players like, I don't know, Yahoo, that theoretically still exists, but when was the last time you used Yahoo for something?
Yeah.
I was just telling a friend, I just found out that ask.com still exists. You can go to ask.com and search things. Just blew my mind. I don't know how that is a thing.
Yeah, I think, when you're talking about companies kind of just like tacking AI onto their product because it's the new shiny thing, to me, it feels like in so many of these cases, it's not even features that users are asking for, It's just they feel like they have to do it because they have pressure from I don't know who, board members or, higher ups in the company who've heard about AI or whatever. But it's like, I just think it's very weird that in a lot of cases, these aren't even things that users have asked for. And users, I just feel like in many cases, just from reading, forums and stuff like that, a lot of people just feel like these features complicate the interface and make things harder to use in a lot of cases and like aren't that useful. I don't know. I just think it's strange that they're adding these features that people aren't really calling for.
Yeah, but as far as I like making fun of this kind of stuff, I would be careful because on one hand, yes, people don't ask for certain changes, but at the same time, it's not yet decided where AI as a typical Gen AI LLM would be applied. So every company tries to squeeze their spot and convince that their spot is the best. Like on one hand, there is Microsoft that and to a certain extent, but not that aggressively, Apple tries to put this agent at the operating system level that would have a context of entire OS. Some other companies try to do this on the browser level, like Google or Opera. Another company tries to do this on their website level, like Notion. Each of them kinda makes sense. They have different access to different level of knowledge behind it, and it's a race who wins and who will get the pie and wipe out the other candidates, let's say. So here, from the user perspective, you end up with having 3 or 4 AI agents over every single button, and it's not nice, but it is what it is. But at the same time, I like to, let me quote, it's not, of course, direct quote, but Henry Ford said something nice about that if he asked users about what they wanted, he would be producing faster horses. So sometimes the company or visionaries, not to say that every company on the planet is visionary, it's quite the opposite, but sometimes visionaries need to come up with solution, not ask people for what they want. Actually, Jobs was doing pretty much that.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. Yeah, I think a lot of people have found that with like ChatGPT. If you had asked them, they wouldn't necessarily describe that that's what they wanted, but it turns out a lot of people are finding it really helpful and useful.
Yeah, but then you have the problem of making engineering kinda vibe discipline, which is a totally different problem, but let's not dive into that right now.
Yeah.
I want to know, why is the IT dictionary not going to be translated to Polish?
I could send you the article about that, but it would be in Polish.
That's what I saw. And then I tried translating it, but then I feel like I didn't get it because
that's exactly
that's
the
what you were describing. It doesn't make
entire
sense.
IT, in my opinion, entire IT lingo is in English, and well, it doesn't translate well. Even when I lived in Poland and tried to speak about technology with people in Polish, it starts to become very difficult if you really want to avoid English terminology. And I did catch myself that sometimes somebody used some Polish term for something, and as a native speaker, I didn't know what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. I needed extra couple seconds, if not more, to understand, to figure out. And years ago, I even had a experience when Microsoft actually tried translating everything into various languages, and PowerShell was translated into Polish, including the error messages. And then when I needed to debug something and I started getting error codes about it was something with SSL. Back then it was still SSL. and I got the error message, and I had no idea what the term, what is it talking to me. I understood every single word in the sentence. I understood the entire sentence grammatically, but I had no idea what it was talking about. So that's a challenge. So I really don't think that IT humor could be easily translated into Polish or, as a matter of fact, German as well.
I'm just curious, and it might not be easy to explain, but I'm wondering, like, are there some examples of things that just maybe they technically translate, but they don't make sense? Like, is it specific words, or is it like the acronyms don't make sense, or what?
Well, acronyms, when you try translating acronyms, then you're entering totally a separate world of pain. And in some terms, let's say, the direct translation of the sentence into Polish, actually, for instance, would be still technically correct. But if a native speaker would try to understand it, would conclude that you're talking probably about some pathological system, pathological family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But really, this is too language specific to translate, let's say.
Yeah.
I hope that my next books will be a little bit more easier to translate, so we'll see.
Did you start trying to do it and then find that it was just too much, or did you decide from the outset, no way?
Okay, here I need to admit one more thing. I'm not good in translation. I can easily write something in Polish. I can easily write something in English. I can moderately easily write something in German. But when I try to translate my own text between those languages, the translation will suck. I mean, translation is totally different skill than just using the language. So I decided to started writing in English, and I just decided to stick to it. I did think if it would be it would be doable translate, and probably, to be fair, something like 70% could be translated, but definitely not by me, and I don't think it makes sense in this particular title with this particular audience. Pretty much everybody should understand. Let's be clear, if they would have problem with understanding this level of English, they wouldn't understand the jokes anyways.
Yeah.
I found that article interesting.
So you wrote this book. You're in the process of writing another one. Did
Yes.
did you find the process of like writing and publishing a book, was it fun? Was it enjoyable, or was it, I don't know, was it kind of a pain in the butt the whole way? Did you end up working with a publisher, or did you did all this yourself?
I'm doing everything myself.
Awesome.
So let's be clear. There are two questions you asked: writing and publishing. Actually, publishing also dives into two stages. So writing is a process that pretty much is specific for person. I won't say that my process is the best one. It was especially within IT dictionary, it was just writing down, almost like writing diary. It's just describing my experience, and then once it was written, actually as a process, I was writing those jokes. Then I started realizing there's more to mock, so I started writing more sections. Like, okay, now I commented out CI/CD and I don't know infrastructure as code. But on the other end, you have ClickOps and you have entire Agile with different roles. So let's think what we can put as translation. And actually, the structure between those parts and different satire motifs is something that appeared at the very end, when I had almost everything written. No, sorry, when entire translation sets and bonus sections were written. When I was going through first round of correction, I realized that there are totally different realities that I'm commenting, and then I added those shifting tones like combat manual, religious aspects, bureaucracy, corporation, startups, and stuff. So that was at the very end something I thought. For Fuck Up Almanac, I went kinda opposite direction. I started first doing research about various cases, and originally it was meant to be a promotion for as a social media post for promoting IT dictionary. But when I had 60 or 70 cases after one day of research, I decided that it's too big and too interesting to just use it that way.
Wow.
Then I added some more cases just to make it more distributed across disciplines, across geography and some other aspects. But then that's about writing. The process is one thing. What I learned is that once, despite what you can hear from or find in various guides online, if you want to go self-publishing, and when you finish the writing, you're just starting your actual work.
Yeah.
Because you need to consider aspects, some maybe obvious, maybe not, like DTP and cover design. I have absolutely no graphical and aesthetic skills, so I needed to hire somebody for that. And to make it professional, it's also not that easy. You have incredible amount of tiny decisions, like even how to get the ISBN number or where to publish the book. Theoretically, when you decide to go with Amazon KDP, you can get ISBN from Amazon. For free, it's just one click and that's it. But the consequence would be that the publisher in the book would be stated as Amazon, not as you, which is okay for Amazon KDP, but then you cannot sell this book outside Amazon. So you cannot extend it to different channels. So you could get the ISBN from your local agency from your country. In some countries it's free, sometimes it's paid, never mind. Then you can put yourself or your company as an entity, as a publisher, and the process would be the same, but you can put the exact same book on different markets, on different channels like Leanpub or something like that. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, you own the rights for the book, so you could change the ISBN. Actually, if you have a second edition or something, you need to change the ISBN number. So you could start with Amazon number, the number from Amazon, to save a couple bucks, and get your own later. But then the problem is that Amazon uses this, binds this number to Amazon product number, ASN, I think, Amazon service serial number or something like that, I don't remember. So all the reviews and sales would be lost when you change it. So you have those nuances. Then there are some legal nuances that most indie publishers don't think of, like obligatory copies. Most people don't even realize that something like that exists, but yes, in most countries I checked, it does. Before you ask, it does exist also in US, that when you publish a book, you are legally obliged to provide free copies to national libraries, some national libraries. One or two copies, but you need. It's not the obligatory obligation on the author, it's on the publisher.
Oh, okay. So that's like the Library of Congress here in the US?
In the US, I think it is Library of Congress, and there might be some state library. For instance, in Germany, that's something that I will be applied. There are two libraries. One is country level, that's in Frankfurt am Main or Leipzig, depends on East-West Germany, never mind. And second is on the state level, because in Germany is also a federal state, has federal states. Bundesländer are just like US states. So I have to deliver or give the 2 copies to National Library, and under the Berlin state law, Berlin is a separate state, I need to give 1 copy to Berlin Library. And that applies to every single edition of the book, because, by the way, you need to have separate ISBN to every edition. So if I have paperback, hardcover, and ebook, those are 3 different ISBNs, 3 different books. So these kind of nuances.
If you publish through Amazon, Amazon just does all that for you?
I'm not sure right now about the obligatory copies. I think Amazon doesn't handle this for you.
Okay.
But I very quickly dropped the idea of publishing with Amazon as a publisher. I'm using KDP as a initial distribution channel, not as a publisher. So I did buy my own ISBN numbers.
That's cool. That sounds like the way to go, long term.
But to continue your question, then once you have all those steps, you have the step of making sure that people know about the book.
Yeah.
And that's another weeks, if not months of work, extra curriculum activity with learning, entire marketing and stuff. And let's be clear, that's why we are talking here today.
Yeah.
Yep.
So people forget that marketing is a whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny to me to imagine that like people who write romance novels about like werewolves and vampires are submitting copies to their national libraries or whatever. I mean, it's everything that gets written, right? Or everything that's published with an ISBN.
Legally speaking, yes. Yeah, every single book. There are some exceptions, to be precise. And again, it's not a legal advice, and definitely not US legal advice. But in Germany, there is on the country level, there is an aspect that in case of self-publishers, the obligation starts when you for self-publishers with print on demand, the obligation appears when you sell 25 copies.
Oh, okay.
So, but as far as I know, in Poland there is no such thing. So the moment you get a book with ISBN and it's published, you need to deliver it to the library.
I would imagine, and like I don't know anything about this, right? Also no legal advice, but I would imagine most countries would have some grace period for that, like you said, under 25 or something. There's no requirement.
As far as, like I said, I know that it does exist in Germany. I know that it doesn't exist in Poland, and obviously I didn't thoroughly research other markets. I didn't care that much.
Yeah.
I just looked for, let's say, discussion purposes that something like that exists also in Brazil and the US, but I don't remember all the details there when the obligation exists. But there are these kind of small regulations that you might not even know about, and it does expose you as a writer, especially as a self-publisher, into some potentially legal troubles.
Yeah.
Probably, I can only assume that if we are talking about self-publisher, the worst case that could happen is that some guy in a gray suit one day would knock on your door or send you an email that, hey, you forgot to provide the copy and you need to do this by yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think you would be put to jail for the next decade, but...
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, maybe there's a fine or something, but... Yeah, that's interesting. That's not something I ever would have thought about.
Yeah. How did you even learn about all that? You just were researching as you went?
About the these mandatory copies, I actually read somewhere in the past, so I knew that there is something worth Google checking for. But most of the process, it was heavy research, and I won't lie. Some of the research was AI powered with well, in one window it was some ChatGPT, in the second Gemini, in the third Google search, just to ask the same question and see which LLM gives, if the answers are very different or not, just to cross-reference, and then go with Google with regular search to check it in more detail. So
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, do you want to get into whose side are you on? Adam, are you familiar with this segment? We do.
I'm not sure.
so we end our episodes with a little segment we call "Whose Side Are You On?" where we dive into one of the age old questions where IT people kind of choose a side, right? Like your tabs versus spaces or your Vim versus Emacs. And what I like to do when we have guests is just kind of like run through some of the like classic ones and see where they stand, right? So it's something we do. We don't take it too seriously, obviously.
Okay, no problem.
We understand that none of these things really matter, but it's fun. So, okay. So where are you at with tabs and spaces? What do you think?
I don't care. Actually,
Okay.
personally, in most IDs, I prefer tabs. I know that there are some problems with converting that and stuff, but for me, the fact that I don't need to configure my IDE to skip multiple spaces with one press of the arrow is the selling point, and the rest is just a matter of configuration. If it's 2 or 3 spaces, or if I need to have it consistent for company standards, I can always write a git pre-commit hook or something like that. So I think it's discussion longer than it's worth it.
That's true. Yeah, that one's particularly silly.
I think in recent years, especially with modern, environments,
Exactly.
It's just become such
really
less of an issue.
What text editor do you use?
Well, text editor usually it's Vim. On graphical ones, I'm using right now on Linux Gianni and Gedit. Just the standard text editors if I need to make notes, but those are just for quick note taking, not something that I trust for development. In terminal, like I say, Vim, and for IDE, nowadays I'm on Visual Studio, Visual Code, as a pretty light, flexible, extensible, and no problems and stuff. Before that, I was using actually IntelliJ. And even before that, it was NetBeans. And even before that, it was Eclipse. So. And recently, I found out that Eclipse is still being developed, but I don't know anybody who uses it.
I got a guy at work that swears by Eclipse. He will never leave Eclipse.
Yeah, it seems like everyone really uses VS Code that I work with.
Actually, nowadays there is this Cursor.
Cursor. Cursor is just a fork of VS Code, right? With AI stuff in it.
Yeah, of course. But I was always into the easiest, most standard solutions with not spending too much time for customization. So I'm too lazy for that.
Brennan, what else is there? What other whose side are you on questions do we have?
Operating system? You said you're on Linux?
Yes, I'm on for work purposes. I'm on Linux. On my private laptop, I have Windows, not because I love it, but because it's for games. But even for some more anything like moving couple files or something, I already use WSL and Linux on board. So for me, it's right now hard to imagine using other system than Linux. And before you ask Mac OS is something I avoid at all costs. I'm not a fan of Apple ecosystem at all.
Yeah, we're kind of I don't really know why we're in the Apple ecosystem at work, but everyone there at work uses Macs, and so I've ended up using a Mac for the last decade or so.
Well, in my company, it's also quite common that they use Mac, and even recently they removed the possibility to have Linux, even as a software engineer,
Hmm.
because of, let's say, government in compliance reasons, because IT ops couldn't control what you're installing, which is one of the reasons why I like Linux. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Any other questions like that?
Yeah, I think those are the big ones. I'm trying to think.
I'm surprised you didn't ask where to start braces.
Where to what?
Oh, like what
Classic
on a new line
discussion
or
if you
yeah.
have a opening brace in the same line or the next line.
Oh,
We've never even done this one, have we?
I don't think we have.
Yeah,
But that's actually
that's a blind spot.
interesting. Which camp are you in?
You go first, Colin.
I do the same line as the declaration.
I think putting the brace on the following line makes you seem smarter. Like, I don't know why I say this exactly, but I feel like when I'm writing more serious code, like C++ or something like audio development where you need to be like really, I don't know, detail oriented, I feel like the bracket on the next line spaces things out a little bit more. It makes it a little more like readable for some reason. But if I'm writing some JavaScript at work just for like a normal web page or whatever, it's bracket on the same line.
Well,
That's weird, but I feel like I know what you mean though.
actually, I remember when I was starting, I was using the new line, and then next line for opening brace. But then somebody gave me argument that totally flipped my thinking upside down. That in the same line, you over time learn to connect the closing bracket not with the opening bracket, but with the keyword. So you instead of connecting the closed brackets with opening brackets, and that's just a random block, you see that it is, I don't know, end of the while loop or for loop or function or whatever. But when I started thinking like that, I switched, and now it's.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I can see that. That does make sense, actually. That's a pretty good argument.
I've never really given it much thought. I've just always kind of did the same line, I guess.
But I asked this because I remember that was a big discussion, almost as big discussion as spaces versus tabs at some point. So.
Yeah, I've seen people online argue about that.
People have strong opinions about that one, yeah.
But again, that's another thing that you can automate within just one plugin or Git hook. So.
Yeah, I think that one is ultimately whatever everyone else on the team is doing. Yeah, whatever the style is for the team that you're working in, I think is the right answer there.
Yeah, if I'm in a file where they've already established that they're doing a new line, then I'll do a new line. But
well, the problem starts when you have a project where every file has different convention.
Oh yeah, that's the best. or when they have a different convention in the same file.
Oh, that's also fun.
Yeah. It's like, should I go back and change all these to what I picked, or I don't know.
Yeah, and that leads to another fun stuff when you have a pull request with a comment that minor fix of one line minor fix, and then you have code comparison where that change entire freaking file every single line.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's about it. Adam, where is your book for sale, and where can people find you and all that?
So all the most up-to-date information are on my website, adamkorga.com. The book will be, like I already mentioned, initially on Amazon KDP. I already started published pre-order page, so you can find IT Dictionary on Amazon, on every single Amazon with KDP. I'm aiming for publication on 30th of September, so literally last day of September, with a small risk that print might be delayed because of some requirements like proof copies that need to happen and stuff. So that's something that I might not make it in time. I'm available on various social media, but links are available also on my website, and that's it. Over time, I'm planning to move the book to other distribution channels as well. But for starters, I just wanted to keep it simple, and Amazon gives me print on demand, access to various markets, and easy process. So that's exactly what I aimed for, and access to pretty much global market. That's also big plus. One more thing. I mentioned that there is a pre-order, but pre-order is available only for ebooks. Right now, the page doesn't mention print ones because there is no option for setting up pre-order for print-on-demand books. So, if anybody wants to purchase, just hint that the book will be available also in paperback and hardcover. So, as far as I would encourage to order as fast as possible, at the same time, it might be better to wait until publication, especially if somebody would like to get it as a gift for somebody. And based from initial reviews, like I have a review from Independent Book Review, it does seem like a good gift, not necessarily for people very heavily entrenched in IT. It's quite accessible, so it's also a value.
Yeah, I'll put all that in the description too.
Like a perfect holiday gift.
Well, I already know that some people plan buying like that. For me, the biggest value is if somebody has a few smiles while reading. Probably also some cry from time to time, but you've seen the advanced review copy, so you know what I mean. And if I may ask, what were your impressions about the book, or what you've seen so far?
So I've only seen the press kit. I actually didn't get the deep dive, but yeah, I mean, what I saw in the press kit was very funny. I will definitely be buying a copy.
Yeah, same. I didn't get a chance to look at it a lot, but yeah, from what I skimmed, yeah, it's I'll be picking up a copy. It sounds fun. Sounds like a lot like what we try to do here on this podcast. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think try not to take things too seriously. It seemed like the book was right in line with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you'll enjoy it once it's available.
All right. Well, then I guess we will catch you in the next time. Catch you in the next time. Did I just catch you next time? Catch you in the next one?
Hopefully. For sure, I will let you know. And it won't be that long with publication. I'm aiming for January, maybe February next year. So it's not that long.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay. So
cool.
Thank you for invite.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Adam.
For sure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
1X Developer Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Colin. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the 1X Developer Podcast and let you know that if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to tell us about your day, you can reach us at X, formerly known as Twitter, at 1X Developer Podcast. We're also on YouTube at 1X Developer Podcast. You can email us if you're weird at 1xdeveloperpodcast@protonmail.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss any further episodes of the 1X Developer Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time.